03030 80 55 55. If you dream of the day when you can give up work, retire, slow down, give more time to yourself and your family, consider this advice from England's top doctor. Dame Sally Davies, for it is she, England's chief medical officer, says older people should consider working into their 70s. It could be good for your health. You may live a longer and healthier life, she says, if you stay in work or even take up new hobbies, keep physically and mentally active in your retirement if you do retire. But importantly, staying in work for many people may be the easiest way to keep physically fit and mentally active. Let's talk about it. Dr. George O'Neill is here with us, GP to the stars, accountant and expert in most things financial. Felicity Huston is in the studio as well, and the former MLA and now political commentator and cultural expert, Seamus Close, is also here. You've been in retirement for a while.
I have been, yes.
No noticeable reduction in the amount of activity in your life.
I try to keep going at different things, but the whole thing about retirement is you're out of the rat race. And to me, the ideal thing is to be able to plan it in advance. Don't suddenly be retired, but in these days of austerity and that, you also have to plan financially, and you have to plan insofar as you can health-wise, because you have to keep fit and you have to keep active.
Is it your view that people, if they can afford it, retire as quickly as you can?
If you can afford it, and if you're fit and healthy, yes, by all means, because there's lots of other things you could be at, enjoying the grandchildren, etc.
What do you think, George?
Well, sir, from my point of view, I mean, I'm 70 next year, and possibly people maybe think I should be retired, but I think I'm not actually.
Kidding.
I have a job which I enjoy. I think I'm very privileged of the job that I really enjoy, and I find it interesting. I'm very well paid for it, and I might do a bit of good. Now, I'm going to continue doing this until such times as I find that maybe somebody taps me in the shoulder, or my partners give me the younger ones give me a gentle push and tell me to go. But certainly at the moment, I really look forward to going into the surgery. I look forward to meeting the patients. I look forward to doing things. And I find, I'm just back from a long holiday, and I found it
another one,
of course, and I found it very difficult, because I was literally reduced to lying on a beach and reading books. There was nothing to do.
So even though the money was there, because Seamus has just said, if you can afford it, you've got the financial resources, get out, enjoy it, get away from it. And even if you have the financial resources, you stay in, it keeps you healthier.
Absolutely. And the evidence is clear. I mean, the evidence is absolutely from China, from America, from the UK. If you continue to work, you're likely to be healthier, and you're likely, more important, to live longer and live better. So if you don't use it, you lose it. And just one example to give you.
I'll come back to you in a second, but we've got two positions there on either ends of the spectrum in terms of your attitude to retirement. Felicity's much younger. In her early 50s. Though I do know
slip of a thing.
Yeah, I do know some people have already retired by that age, actually. Yeah. People in their 40s have retired because they've got the financial resources to do it. What's your attitude to that thing, retirement?
Well, it does tend to be the very wealthy are the only people who maybe successfully sell a business or something in retirement. Very few of them would actually just sit on a beach and do nothing. They tend to keep active. I mean, I am self-employed, and I think the self-employed don't stop. They may gradually tail off, but I mean, I know plenty of accountants still quite active in their 80s. Now, that's an issue for them and their clients, obviously. Presumably they're still providing the service.
I just wonder, they must be playing chess in between doing the books to keep their minds alive.
Presumably something like that. It's quite impressive. I don't see me still doing self-assessment returns and computations in my 80s. But certainly I think that is the difference. If you run your own business, you can make a decision about how you want to work. And the other thing, of course, is that if you run your own business, you've had to fund your own pension. And sometimes the self-employed don't have the pension that's waiting for employees when they reach retirement age. So that I always used to say, at one point we planned to retire at about 65, but then I got a pension forecast and now it'll be 85. I mean, it is a financial issue.
So you have no number in your mind, as some people do, and think that's the year. That's almost like getting out under the terms of the Good Friday Agreement. Yeah. That's the year I'm out.
No, there's none of that. I mean, I'm very aware of that. The civil service have this 40 years. I'll do my 40 years. I have to get my full 40 years. I think in my sort of world, that just doesn't exist at all.
Do you feel like you're if you were to retire, if you were to have the financial resources, that you would find things to do? Would you sit at home? Would you actually regret? Because some people do regret retirement after a year or so.
Yes, but I think you would get bored, wouldn't you? I mean, most of us would. I mean, it's nice to not have the pressure. And I mean, I don't work as hard as I did when I was 35. There's no doubt about it. I don't need to and I don't wish to, but I'm glad to keep active. I think, for somebody to turn around and say, well, that's it, go away, go home and I don't know, I walk dogs, but there's a limit to even how much time can be spent walking dogs, you know. Of course, there is the other point that as a woman, you know, a woman's work is never done.
Is that? But is that more of a case for women?
Well, yes. Well, you say
Really?
we just
I mean, in this day and
retire. We'd
age.
just be doing other things. Oh no, I think if you know a lot of men who share the household chores equally, I'd love to meet some of them. Please.
03030 80 55 55. Here's Jim. Jim, you've been retired 4 years now.
56.
How are you doing, Jim?
36, right.
How's that retirement working out out for you?
Well, it's excellent, you know. But one of the things I think anyone who's retiring has to sort of realise that they are getting older. So their body might need a bit more maintenance. So I mean, I exercise every day, use a bike every day, keep fit. Now, saying that, I've also set a lot of time aside for playing music, etc., traveling around with friends and enjoying ourselves. So you have to balance things, you know. I mean, the whole exercise
Doesn't sound too bad at
thing
all.
has to be balanced up.
It's all right.
I mean, there are a lot of stats about this. I mean, I was told before I retired that if you retire around 55, 56, your life expectancy got longer. There's a report called the Boeing report says that there's arguments about that.
Yeah, George is shaking his head to that stat.
Yeah, well, no, apparently, you know, there's a few studies. That one of this maybe been dissed a wee bit, but that's what I was.
I know what he's going to say. It depends what you do with your retirement in terms of your mental and physical activity. The age you retire at in itself is not an indicator.
No, but there are other stats, and maybe the Office for National Statistics will show that the higher your profession, the longer your life expectancy as well. For instance, if there's lawyers, actuaries, etc., they're going to live longer if they retire at 65. Say a labourer or a cleaner, somebody working outside does.
Why do you think that is the case? Is it just the manual labour and physical dimension of it? What is it?
Well, that part seems to be sort of more the manual labour, but you know, you also have stresses, etc. Now, those may kick in a few years' time with the stresses of austerity, etc., and whatnot, and how it affects people in wealth terms, etc.
Quite so. Pension poverty and all of that.
Yeah, all of that. So there are a lot of different things. But the main thing, I think, is, like I say, to have a regime of fitness. I mean, I have quite a few friends now have retired, you know, and if Tony Collins listening, Tony, your hair will never grow back, even if you keep exercising, mate. You know, but
there are medical miracles ahead for Tony. What age did you retire at, Jim?
All right.
What age did you retire at? Was it 60 or over 60?
No, but still, I was 56.
56. Yeah.
Yeah, I got out of retirement. I was lucky.
Were you a civil servant?
I was very lucky. So I'm making the best of it, you know, and I think that's the best way to have a positive outlook in life as well. For instance, you know, I mean, before I retired.
What did you do, Jim? Can I ask?
Well, yeah, I worked in the public service, working with asylum seekers, and it wasn't a stressful job by any means. You know, it was a very enjoyable job, you know. So, you know, from that point of view, I was just lucky I got the chance to take earlier retirement, you know.
Thank you very much, Jim. Really interesting. He retired 4 years ago. Lucky man, in some ways, the age of 56. You, George, want to challenge something
he brought up a very important point about life inequalities, where we have, if you come from a deprived area, you're not likely to worry about retirement. You're likely to be dead or have an illness way before retirement time.
Yeah, it's an
and this is
question.
one thing that our politicians have failed. They have not addressed or improved the life inequalities in our society, certainly in the 40 years that I've been a GP.
Felicity, do you feel like you will live longer because of the particular career you've had rather than some other careers?
Oh, goodness. I suppose it's possible, yes. I mean, it is accepted again that people in professional careers do have longer lives. It's as you say, it's an outworking of affluence. You know, people in professional careers tend to be more affluent, therefore they have a better lifestyle, blah, blah, and all those outworks.
Less likely to smoke too.
Right, I didn't know that, right.
George has explained that to us before.
Well, George is obviously much more, for obvious reasons, briefed on all this stuff.
So that might explain the lack of the 10 years at the end of that person's life.
But it's also interesting, I mean, in England, there's a massive inequalities in your life expectancy if you come from the southeast of England and the north of England, and in parts of Scotland, the inequalities are astonishing. You know, if you're from, if you're from an area of affluence in Scotland, you've got something like 15 years on you in comparison with some of the poor areas of working class Glasgow. It is astonishing that that's still going on.
Let me take a call from Bill. Hello, Bill.
Hi there.
Go ahead, Bill.
Okay. I was just saying to one of
my great team,
your colleagues there, that there's no one in the studio there that actually worked out in a building site for the last 50 years.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Exactly. You know, I mean, you know, someone who's been in politics like Seamus there, you know,
Be careful what you say next.
they weren't out on a building site, you know, putting bricklaying or plastering or whatever.
That's right, Bill, but what's the point you're making from that?
Well, it's all very well saying work till you're 70.
But if you've been a builder for 40 years, you might want to get out as quickly as you can, which is actually the point Seamus was making, if you can afford to get out at that age.
No, I'm not saying about the affordability. I'm talking about the health reasons.
Or just you're exhausted.
Exactly.
You're wrecked.
You know, I mean, you've got a doctor on there, you've got a politician, and another lady who probably
An accountant,
who works in an office. You know, they're not running up and down ladders all day.
Bill, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
We'll return to this after the 1 o'clock news. The question we're asking you, have you ever thought about it in this way, that retirement might be bad for your health?
William Crawley with Talkback on BBC Radio Ulster.
5.5 minutes past 1, we're talking about retirement because England's top doctor, Dame Sally Davis, has suggested that retirement could actually be bad for your health. That depends on what you do with your time when you are retired. But in terms of mental and physical activity, staying in work for a lot of people could be the easiest way to maintain their health. George O'Neill, Dr. George O'Neill, says people should be able to work until they are 70 and beyond, and he's 70 next year, and he says he's feeling great. He's no intention of retiring until they kind of nudge him out of the practice. Felicity Huston is in her early 50s, and she says she'll probably work into her 70s. You know, she's a freelancer or self-employed. She has no dreams of retirement because she'd probably be bored stiff into a retirement. And Seamus Close, he's 69 years old, is retired, and says if you can afford it, get out, get off the rat race and enjoy yourself. We're taking your calls 03030 80 55 55. And Felicity, just before we went to the news, Bill called in to say you're basically all middle class people who work with your minds. You haven't had a long slog on a building site for 40 years. He does have a point. I mean, if you wreck your body working in heavy labour for 40 years, you want to get out, don't you?
Well, yes, but I think of my father-in-law, who was a farmer on the north coast of up here, and, you know, he was working into his mid-70s. I mean, certainly the life took its toll on him, but when he retired, he got a few sheep, because he always fancied a few sheep, and a lot of farmers seem to fancy a few sheep. He actually found that was far harder work, getting out and lambing in the middle of the night than it ever had been doing the dairy.
In his 70s?
Yeah, he got a few sheep, but then the sheep had to go because 3 a.m. hauling a sheep. Yes, exactly. Hauling a sheep around in the middle of the night in the winter just wasn't the thing, so he
just missed what he was doing.
Yes, he did. Yes, I mean, he'd always been an active man.
Activity,
that's right.
Yeah.
Always been active, and I mean, unfortunately, his health actually did get on top of him in the end, and was very frustrating for him. But you know, he kept going, and I mean, I think the farming community is very like that. I mean, most of our farmers in Northern Ireland are way past retirement age.
George, do you think if you're doing a kind of job throughout your life where you are mentally challenged, intellectually challenged in that work, you're more likely, for example, to avoid dementia?
Well, there's no evidence of that, but what I do say is that, you know, if you don't use it, you're likely to lose it. I think that's something that we all should think about. What they found, the Mercedes-Benz looked at... Well, think about it. Yeah. The Mercedes-Benz looked at their older workers, and they assumed that productivity would go down as the workforce got older. In fact, it didn't, because the older workers had a lot of experience, a lot of common sense. But what they did find, if you were doing a boring, repetitive job, you really did affect your health. And that was the sort of job that made it very difficult for you to keep going into
even
your
if 70s. It wasn't strenuous in the physical
Even if it wasn't strenuous,
it was
boring, tedious, you know, it was just mind-numbing. It really didn't do your health. But be clear about it. The longer you work, the more likely you are to live another 4 to 5 years, at least according to the evidence from America.
The longer you work.
Yes, the longer you work.
Depending on what you do.
And I think, I mean, certainly more and more people now are continuing to work, and I think we need a flexibility. In America, there is no retirement age. You can work as long as you want, whatever job you're in, whereas here it's very prescriptive with some jobs with the civil service, teaching jobs, jobs in the justice system.
Space for the next generation coming through as well.
But there's plenty of room for the next generation. I mean, there's plenty to be done. When you look at another example I think of, we've 200,000 carers here. The majority of them are over 60 in their 70s.
Oh, yeah.
They're not rewarded. They're not paid for it. But that's work.
And it's hard work.
And it's demanding work, but yet they're out there doing it. So there's lots of people here are continuing to work well into their 70s and 80s.
Patrick, I'll come to you in a second. Patrick's on the phone line. He's got an anonymous comment here. Seamus, maybe you can pick up on this one. Listening to your nice upper-class people there in the studio, they can be sitting on beaches in their retirement. When I was 16, I was ripping asbestos out of buildings. So the likelihood of living to 70 is slim for me, I think is what that sentence says. Most people work in horrendous conditions, Seamus, on building sites from an early age. That kind of work. You want to retire as quickly as you can if that's your life.
A lot of them do, and I'm not stepping back from that at all. I was in politics from 1972, 73, and I retired from politics.
Man and boy.
Yes, but the whole point about it is that I retired because I wanted to get my life back.
Did you not ever want to get a real job at some point in your life?
Well, I had a real job. I was fortunate enough in
Come
that
on, I'm teasing
respect.
you.
But I wanted to get my life back. Constituency work, you couldn't walk down the street that you weren't stopped, that you had a problem with some of your constituents. And if you were going to be successful, you had to represent them. It was the same through the Assembly and that, with the various information that you were constantly trying to absorb and react on the best part of your electorate.
Here's Patrick. Hello, Patrick.
Trying to get your life back.
Yeah.
Welcome, Patrick.
Oh, you know this, I couldn't talk on your show if I was working from 70, 80. You have nobody to talk to.
That's not true. That's not true.
People. That's us retired people.
You'd be sitting in your car in your lunch break phoning me, Patrick.
Pardon?
You'd be sitting in your car phoning me in your lunch break.
No, you wouldn't. I'd be working, slaving over somewhere. I left when I was 55, long enough. And I
What did you do?
And the wife and I, we've been everywhere, man. Wife says, I need to go to Paris. We went to Paris. We went to New York. You went to Rome. You went to Naples. You had your retirement money, and you done these things. You didn't wait till you were 70 years of age and then decide to do these things. The wife and I had done all these things when I retired. We went to Paris. We went to New York.
Yes, we've heard that. Stop telling us about it. What did you do before? What did you do for a living?
I worked for DuPont for 33 years as a store supervisor.
So you got a good deal, did you?
Oh, that was a lovely deal. I couldn't condemn them. You know, I tell you, that was one of the best companies ever came here. Because I remember one time, she was a scientist, she was working for DuPont, she was working down the river. True story. I was working the river foilware. And I said, why did you not go to Belfast? She said, it wasn't that they didn't try, she says. They tried to get our big company, DuPont, to go there, but we saw the river here was what we needed, and we came. And that's how I started out in life when I was only a kid.
You sound like you're still enjoying it, Patrick.
No, you're enjoying it, because I seen your shows on TV and I was jealous. America. See, you have all this in front of you.
That's my job. That's not my retirement you're describing.
Well, you won't have to retire.
That's all
after
travel
that. But I
broadcasting.
tell you what.
But Patrick's got the absolutely
He's got a
right
great attitude.
He worked to retire, and he's enjoying retirement.
Patrick,
He's
thank
going
you
here
very
and
much.
everywhere with his wife.
Thank you very much. Quick question on this, Felicity. If you look back to when you were sort of 18 years old, if I were to say to you now, give some advice to your 18-year-old self, what would be the career in life that would get you the earliest and best retirement gig?
Oh my goodness, that's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, I think probably to go into the legal profession, because I mean the money that could be made in that is quite remarkable, and you could become very successful in probably your early 40s. You get
If you're successful.
Well, yeah. Well, even the not very successful seem to do fine out of it.
More than 60% of the barristers who qualify in Northern Ireland have dropped out after 3 or 4 years.
Well, that's probably to do with the fact that maybe they went into the wrong field of law. I mean, you have to enjoy the style that is
Would you go into,
barristers,
George?
but most of them are making
I
money.
wouldn't do anything different. I've been very privileged. I've had a very, very nice lifestyle. I've got a job I really enjoy, and I have done very well out of it, and I may have done a bit of good in what I'm doing.
Here's Les. Hello, Les. This has got to be the last call, I'm afraid, Les. Go for it, my friend.
Hello, William. How are you? No, I was just reiterating what one of your previous callers was on there. I worked on building sites. I was a tradesman, you know, but then I was lucky enough to get out when I was about 40, get onto a novice job. But I see guys that work with me, you know, on the sites who stay there, and I mean, they're knackered, if you excuse the expression. I mean, they're out in the rain, they've been working, it's hard labour.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're 70 years of age, you can't go climb a
You just can't do that anymore. You couldn't do that in your 60s for a lot of that.
You know what I mean?
work,
Yeah, well, you wouldn't, because one thing, as well as that, it's bad. I mean, it's lifestyle, and it's bad. It's a bad, you know, whatever you're eating, like, sort of, you know what I mean? You're eating stuff to keep you going, and whatever's handy. When you're on the building site, you'll eat everything in front of you, including fish and chips and all sorts of stuff, you know what I mean? So you don't really get a chance to treat your body right as well, I suppose, is the thing, you know. And I think it's just all relative to your occupation, and I think if you're if you're in a novice, well, obviously you're going to have a less maybe physical stuff, but there's stress-related stuff as well.
Sure there is, yeah, and big intellectual challenges. Les, thanks very much. I did say that would be the last call, but Billy is desperate to get on. Billy, I'll make some space for you. Go ahead, sir.
I don't know about the desperate, but to tell you the truth.
Well, we're glad to have you.
I don't think any Parliament would have much knowledge on about the working man from the ordinary hard rough districts, as used to call it years ago, that come right through to now, Well, I'm 73 now, and the people who work overtime, all the hours you could get and work till retirement at 65 have a shorter life than the man who takes early retirement and has a life after early retirement, like going out and about, going to the gym and social drinking with friends and family and support. Man, you need. That's what we have to say, Being mental alert. I'm through all this here, and I'm still, thank God.
And you're 74. Except that George has already challenged that claim. He's saying the statistics, the evidence suggests that if you work longer, you're more likely to have a healthier and longer life.
Well, I would disagree there, because we used to take a stats in Bombardier.
But I take your point, Billy, but there is this important caveat. It depends on the kind of work you were doing.
It does indeed. And if it's boring, repetitive
really,
work...
really hard manual labour,
absolutely.
it's a different kind of proposition.
Absolutely.
Well, how can a doctor or one of your MPs speaking the same Rossum as me, who come up as a kid in Belfast, right? And everybody in Belfast, them days just after the war, they had a paper on, they've done the papers. Not only that there, but at school still, it's left school.
George had a paper run.
YP pools.
That's correct, though.
That's what I did.
That's correct. YP pools is right.
I did the YP pools for many years.
And I tell you true, Bill, after that, we used to go down to McVeigh's in the market, and you were picked to go out potato picking during the summer. You know what I mean? So you had to go through, you hadn't an awful lot of education, but you had to go through at that particular time till you were 16. And you were lucky if you got, a job to serve your time at 16. I was lucky. I was seen mad work.
Billy, you should have become a politician.
No, no way. Because it took probably one.
Couldn't stick the strain, the stress.
No,
You'd be rushing back to the potato picking after that.
After that, I had to go. I went down. There was a sheet metal work out the motors, and then I went into the shipyard. I was in the shipyard for a while, and I got a bit of a bad time because in them days I was a part time too. I work in the shipyard. And at the aircraft factory where I finished my days, was there for over. I went to London like in between that time. Was more than London.
I feel like we need to do a Billy special.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
We need to do a Billy special and get the rest of your story.
No, but that's in Belfast. That was in Belfast, right along the whole spectrum. That's the way the boys look. That's the way we went. And them days there were a lot of good footballers. Gaelic football and soccer football, but we never got the chance because.
Billy, there's a book in there trying to come out.
Billy, I gotta go, but thank you very much. Gosh,
I think Billy should take over the show.
he was taking over the show. That's why I got out when I did.
The difference, about many of you callers, they're employees. The people as well as myself being self-employed, most of my clients are self-employed. And they just keep working. That's the difference. Just thinking about the difference between those, so they've all had jobs and they've an expectation of retirement.
There's no black and white in it. Everything, as some of the callers have said, is relative. Yes. And it's relative to your fitness, to your health, to your wherewithal, etc. And you work accordingly. And I don't think you can be prescriptive and say that you should work on or you should retire at 50. One of the callers there, he worked hard and he's now enjoying retirement.
Yeah.
And there's so many other windows open up
had Patrick's life.
when you reach retirement. I mean, I can enjoy...
I agree with you on the fitness thing. It's all relative. When people look at me, and George does this every time he comes in the studio and asks questions about my fitness.
Yeah.
My fitness, because I'm overweight. I'm fit for what I do. I sit in this chair, George, and I talk to you. That's what I do for a living.
Excellent. But we could help you.
Yes, but you wouldn't like to be up roofing. No, nor would I.
I've done a bit of that in my time.
Well, I think we've all lent our hands to different things. I mean, I picked strawberries and was in the post office and various other things too.
Seamus Close, former MLA, still exhausted after all those years of political work. Felicity Huston, still going fast and strong. And George O'Neill, who's already told his junior partners in his practice today, don't even think about it. He's staying around. Thanks to all of you.